My name is CL Reed, or as I'm known legally, Crystal. I am a short-term rental operator, and I have so much fun doing this that I wanted to invite my short-term rental friends into a live YouTube to share with you tips, tricks, how-tos, give you an opportunity to ask them questions, have you send in questions to our attention so that we can answer them for you straight from the horse's mouth, from the operators and owners. So my guest today is Niels Becker, and he is located in Germany. I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak to you for regarding his favorite topic for today. But first, I want to let you know that the purpose of this YouTube channel is just to be informative, be fun, lighthearted, give you an opportunity to ask any question. No question is too small or too large or too anything. We're here to help each other grow and prosper. And this is for experienced hosts, new hosts, or if you're just interested or curious in hosting. So if you want more information, please press the subscribe button below and click the bell so you'll get notifications when we load up new videos. And then also, if you want more information about my personal short-term rental, it will be in the link below. And at the end of this video, you'll also be able to be in contact with my guest host, Niels, to see, reach out to him regarding his short-term rentals and other things that he's interested in doing. If you are a skydiver and you're coming to the Paris, California area to skydive Paris, that is where I operate my short-term rental platform. And the information to book is in the links below. The name of my business is A Suite Collaboration. It's a conglomeration of short-term rental platforms, HomeAway, Airbnb, and private website. You can book with me. If you're here to skydive, hot air balloon, visit guests, wine tasting, visit family, I'm here to host your stay. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Niels, and he's going to take the next 10 minutes to talk to you about accommodations and experiences. Niels, thank you for joining my live channel today, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. It's so much fun to be here on your channel and to start this venture with you. I'm very much looking forward also to other people who will participate, because I feel that I'm just another host, and we are helping each other out. So I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I'm just, trying to share my experience. If I can talk a little about myself, I am originally coming from the renovation of properties. I'm specializing in old derelict buildings that are very old and ancient, and there I have been, in a village in southwestern Germany near Luxembourg. I have been renovating several buildings. And I was a long-term renting landlord, and I started about 2 years ago to try with the short-term rentals, and I did one studio, a little studio that I had just as a test run. And I wanted to find out what the difference between being a normal landlord is, just providing accommodations, and what the tricks is if you want to provide short-term rentals. And in my opinion, there is a fundamental difference between just being a landlord and doing short-term rentals. And it's that you are not just an accommodation provider in short-term rentals. What people really are looking for is an experience. This is why they come to us, and they're not going to a hotel. And when I say an experience, I think that you have to find a certain unique sales selling point for your short-term rental, and not just add another unit. Because I see also a lot of people who start this business and then they give up after a while because it doesn't work the way they had expected. And what I feel is a lot of times what is lacking there is the experience. And the experience, I mean, it's easy if you have a Malibu beachfront property. The experience is clear and it's very simple. If you have an apartment overlooking Central Park in New York City, it's also very easy. But for me, being in a rural area of Germany, which has a lot of stuff to see and a lot of things around, but it's not a, let's say, Class A location where people are just pouring in by the thousands. So you have to think of something that makes your listing attractive and makes it differ from everybody else. In my case, it's history because my buildings are all old. And the catch that I'm selling or I'm trying to provide to people is the history that comes with the unit, and that people can just dive into the history. This is why I call the rental for I group under living in history. That's the experience that people are going to get when they come to me. To just explain it practically, what I mean by this is that this summer I test ran a little cottage that belonged to my mother, and I had that for 2 months before she was getting another long-term renter, and I set that up on Airbnb, and it was set up under the title The Witch Cottage, because we found out, and we wrote that in the listings description, that it had been the living place of the last unfortunate woman that had been burned in the village for witchcraft in 1500 something, and she had actually
wow.
and she had actually lived on that site.
Wow.
And we stumbled into this, and the success was enormous. We had the first booking after 2 hours. And something I noted is that all bookers were female. That so the of a witch having lived in a building expected especially women and sole female travelers, and it was something I was reluctant because I thought, this may deter other people, but here we hit something, and you could see that people actually came because they wanted to be part of this. I mean, there's no witch in the house, but it's that spirit. It's to participate in a piece of history that you cannot repeat or replicate, and that's what you will not find anywhere else. And
let me ask you something, Niels. When you say not just accommodations, but provide an experience, would you say look for your niche also? Like for you, for that particular location, it was the witch angle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm coming to. I'm not trying to say that everybody should do the same, but if you're in a place like, I don't know, Iowa or Kansas or something like this, you have to think of something that makes your listing special, that makes it different from everybody else. Because otherwise, if you just go, for example, on price, there will always be somebody else down the street who will be $5 cheaper, and then get the people who book just based on price. So there must be something that makes your listing unique. That is your special point. I'm just saying my witch story is just my angle for that particular building. It may be different in another building. Right now I'm negotiating an old schoolhouse to become an Airbnb, and obviously the angle will be a bit different there, but it will be based on the building's history. So whatever it is, if you prefer to theme your building, or if you want your listing, or if you want to have a special catch to it, I think that's what makes it important. And I think, for example, for property managers that scale their business, there is a big danger in getting to the same problem that hotels do. They have always the same they replicate the same hotel room all over the world. It doesn't matter whether you're staying in one country or another, it always looks the same. And there's that same problem if you scale your business and you just say, oh, this worked fine, so I will just buy the same stuff that I had in the other unit and replicate. But if you do this, you're losing a lot of the original idea why people actually come to you to experience something special. And I think another aspect, besides the niche or the special catch that your listing should have, is in the house itself. When I'm a long-term landlord, I just sign the contract, hand over the keys to the tenant, and say, okay, we'll see each other in 1 year when the lease is over. But here, it's people want to see that someone is thoughtful, that someone tries to give them a good time, to spend a nice weekend, for example, in my region. So I provide hiking tips, biking tips, sightseeing tips, things that they can do, restaurant tips in the area. So that makes it different from being just in an impersonal hotel. And it makes it also different from being a long-term landlord, because your normal tenant doesn't expect that kind of care. And there's also small things. I always have the example, as ridiculous as it may seem, that I put chocolate hearts with the word welcome on the pillows the first day guests arrive. And it's a 5-cent investment on my guests.
How does that work during the summer?
Well, we have a building, as it's an old building. All our buildings are old. They have like big stone walls, so it's always cool inside in the summer.
Okay.
We don't have the problem of chocolate melting. I know what you're trying to say. Could put them on the nightstand.
Yeah.
But it's something so ridiculous, to have like a 5-cent chocolate heart. But you see that people in the reviews mention this. They say, oh, all these thoughtful little details really made us feel at home. It made an experience for us, and it made our vacation stay that we had in the region where I am, in the Eifel region, it made it extra special. And I think this is where I can outnumber any hotel that I have in the area, because they see this person is trying to give us something personal. And I think that's the other part. What I'm saying is, your listing has to have an individual touch to see the people. It's something special. It's something that's not just a standardized product. And the host behavior, what you do for your guests, and to make them feel well and good. And I mean, being a long-term landlord, for me, it has been also something where I had to adapt, because it is a lot of work. People ask a lot of questions, and you have to be very patient, and you always have to think, these people come here because they want to spend a nice weekend, or they want to spend their summer vacation or whatever. So for them, it's a special time during the year, and you just have to be patient with them, and not just say, okay, it's your problem. I think it's my problem. I take them over. I'm patient. I'm trying to move it forward for them, and more than I would ever do as a long-term landlord.
And that's the big difference that people need to understand. As a short-term rental host, you are more hands-on, and you should be. Long-term, like you said, you hand them the keys, and I'll see you in a year or however long the lease is, and you turn up when there's problems and repairs that need to be done. Otherwise, there's not too much engagement. But when you're a short-term rental host, the mindset should be that you're hands-on, that you're available, that you're there to accommodate and make people's travel, trip, lodging experience very pleasant. And so I want to make sure that our guests that are listening in understand from you that you, in a nutshell, believe that you just shouldn't accommodate people, but that you should give them an experience, a pleasant experience, go the extra mile to make that experience, even like with simple things like the chocolates or, just the extra little added touches. to make their trip pleasant, to tell them where some of the local restaurants and taverns and things are, and the hiking trails. And then to also to set yourself apart from, say, the nearest or less expensive short-term rental unit is to look for what you stand out in, or and the niches. For you, it's, you know, the witch story or the old history or the historical homes, that sort of thing. That's going to separate you from your competition and have you stand out.
That's right. So I think that is that sums it up pretty well. What I'm trying to say here, and um, I'm just, you know, as a host, I see that a lot of other people, you know, they're kind of, you know, driven by, oh, this is an easy extra money I can get, you know, just to rent out the space that I have. But I think that what is always doomed to fail. It will not work well. You
Right.
have to find the special catch, otherwise
Right.
it won't. And you have to be service minded. So otherwise it won't. And if you don't like people, it's not going to work.
It's not the business for you. Get a co-host who does like people.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Niels, I thank you so much for taking the time to participate. I would like to wrap up this segment with, if you'd like people to get in touch with you, you want to give your website or email address for us, and then I'll also place that information in the body of this message so that people can contact you.
Okay. My email for contact is it's a bit long, but I'll try to. You will have it in the information. It's info@woolweaverhouse.com. That's like wool, like sheep's wool, and then weaver, like somebody who makes something out of that wool. House.com. That's the contact information if you want to get in touch with me. And if you want to, if you're curious, you will find it in the links. But if you want to look up the area where I am, the little village where I am is called Dudeldorf. Yeah, and one of the guests that I have wrote in the review, Dudeldorf is just as it sounds, cute as overdose, and this is what I'm going for. So Dudeldorf, it's a very small village, and this is where my rentals are located. I have 2 units now. After the test run, I have added another small cottage in that one. The witch cottage right now is been rented long term also to a single female who actually read the listing description on Airbnb and said, I just had to get that cottage for me.
Excellent.
So,
do me a favor, spell your first and last name for me so I'll have that correctly.
Niels is Niels, and the last name is Becker, Becker.
And spell the city where you're
right. Village. Yeah, Dudeldorf is Dudeldorf.
Germany?
In Germany, correct.
Okay, so I've put that in the group chat information. I'll also include that in our general information. And tell me this, Niels, before we end this conversation, what platforms are you listing your short-term rentals on?
I'm on Airbnb and Booking.com.
Okay, so we're going to have you back again because we want you to talk about the pros and cons of all the above. I think people should know and know the differences and what the choices are. That helps them to decide as well.
I have also for the first listing, as I'm saying, I was testing everything. I have my own website.
Okay.
So that's I created that with Lodgify. That maybe might be interesting, not to make a commercial for Lodgify, but it may be interesting for people to know about that.
How long have you been using the Lodgify?
For about a year.
Okay, so that tells us something about it. You have some time of it under your belt. So let's revisit that. We'll do
Okay.
a segment that, maybe do a group segment and ask people to talk about the different platforms and that sort of thing and get some feedback.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be very interesting because I'm also as I said in the beginning, I'm interested to learn. I don't think I'm any smarter than anybody else, but I think somebody has to start out with the with the conversation, and then
Yeah, and I like learning in real time. I mean, the forums are great. We help each other. We're very supportive. We get a lot of different information and thought processes going. But I kind of like this real time where we can actually get the
yeah.
answer face to face. So I appreciate your participation, Neil, so much. And your puppy's participation. Tell them I say hello.
Yeah, sorry about
That's
that.
okay. It's okay. They just wanted to be a part of it.
I hope it didn't bother too much in the sound.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to this being posted and many more of us doing videos together to come.
Okay, all
Niels
right.
Becker, have a good rest of the evening, and you and I will see you on the boards.
Okay, I'll see
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.